Good morning.
Good morning.
Another edition of Awesome Bytes. How are you
Yep.
today?
I'm good. How are you?
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, then what are
Yes,
we going to disagree about now?
absolutely. So we should figure out something to disagree, right? By the way, the topic today is agree to disagree. And what's your take on the topic?
Okay. I mean, that's something that we hear often, um, more so in these days where we have people holding very strong opinions.
Hmm.
One thing that we need to realize is that we are wired to have different opinions, different perspectives, and that's why we are human beings at the end of the day, right? So when we have this way of perceiving things, I believe this is one of the principles that will probably hold the sanity of the society. Not necessarily a society in the larger sense, but also maybe a smaller circles, teams, offices, homes, hiking teams.
Yeah. What do you think is the reason that we have very strong opinions?
I think that some of those are, probably our experiences,
Yeah.
our limited understanding sometimes, or our inability to look beyond certain things that we hold very valuable in our minds.
There are people who have had very strong experiences
Mm.
and they've created very strong opinions and they know exactly if you do anything else, it's a waste of time.
Mhm.
So, is that an opinion? Is it an order? How do you distinguish between
One,
giving advice so that to save time versus, yeah, go on.
most of the times we don't look at the context. So within a small context, that might be true. Uh, for example, if we know that it worked really well in this location, in this situation, in this period of time, that might be true. But then what really happens is when we start expanding the horizons,
Hmm.
we realize that the things that we thought are true or are best in the interest might not be really the case when more and more samples and more wide variety of situations come across. And this is true even if you take the concept of physics, you'll see that the more we learn about it, the more things become unclear, and we're like, okay, we thought that was it, the Newton figured it out. No, 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 it's
But I don't agree with that.
you don't. Of course.
When someone says I don't agree with that, the energy shifts in the conversation sometimes, right? As long
Mhm.
as we are not mindful, and I think when we say I don't agree, there is a lot of there's a lot of contextual emotions that is attached to that statement when somebody perceives it. If it is from a stranger, you go and debate. If it is someone who you know very closely, you judge. When it is someone who you know means well for you, you accept. And it's very interesting, right, how we take that statement, the same statement, when someone disagrees.
Hmm. In fact, that's a very interesting thing, because the moment you say I don't agree with that, how you take it, you know from a perspective of why the person does not agree with that, as against, like, okay, now I have to protect my turf. That creates a bit of confusion for people. In fact, if you take it in the positive sense, where we say that, yeah, we agree to disagree, but let's find out a working solution. uh, or that's more abstract in the sense that that works probably in the social, political, personal levels. Or find out, okay, you don't agree with that, let me clarify it, or let me, like, make it better, or let me figure out what is wrong with it. And that's more like scientific objective way of looking at it. Either way,
But when it is
Very-
very polarizing opinions, what do you do in that case? When there is no working solution which is possible? When it's like, the politics, the left and the right, or extremists, on two sides, they're coming in for a conversation. And they can say, okay, we can agree to disagree, but we cannot have a working solution which will work for both you and I. Then what happens?
See, I don't think there is completely, there is a situation where things are like completely different. If that is the case, you'll have to like really split things apart.
Hmm.
But there will be some common ground, because the very fact that we are talking about the same thing, that is where the concept of agreement or disagreement comes, right? So there is a common object, common thing, common subject, or people, or if you really look at that commonality, then it's easier to work forward, rather than talking about mostly the fringe elements that are causing this kind of agreements. And
Yeah.
if this the core thing is the cause of disagreement, then I believe there should be a lot more open discussion and conversations.
And I think when we are too attached to our opinion, we sometimes are not able to become neutral about it, and we are not able to become objective about it, because we cannot distinguish ourselves from that opinion. We and the opinion becomes the same. So if anyone attacks the opinion, we feel like it is an attack on our personality or on our thoughts, on who we are. And I think when you have a third party who is neutral to the complete
Hmm.
opinion, there will be a possibility of reaching a common ground more than by doing it just by themselves, I feel, right? Which is why you
That's a
have
very good
media.
point. Sometimes those are creating issues in this kind of two-party systems. Where I have to take this position or that position. I cannot take an independent position. And sometimes, if there are only two parties, it's easy to create this split as compared to having third party who might be able to stay in the gray or draw a line between.
True, but drawing the line without a third party, we'll have to do it ourselves today. We've come to the end of our 7 minutes. And we'll have to agree that it was a good discussion. We'll have to agree that it's time up, and we'll have to agree that we'll meet again tomorrow.
Sure, then.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
morning. Another 7 minutes up. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.